What the doggone hell's going on? There's so many goddamn ogres everywhere. Last time I seen this many ogres was down there in a Denny's on a Sunday morning. What the hell are you all doing out there? Come on now, let's get it going. Yeah, I thought we knew what the symbols were. Didn't you say it was pretty easy? What's going on? Why are we struggling?
I don't know what's going on. I'm following a guide. I put community in, I put community in again, and then I get community in again, and then chill. Because you gotta deal with DBS. It's sure that's exactly what I'm doing. I don't know. I'm following a guide.
I'm sorry. You're taking a guide from a guy that hasn't even beaten it yet? What are you talking about? I thought you said you knew what you're doing. You're watching someone else play the goddamn game, you stupid son of a bitch.
Well, I'm watching one of these top-tier content creators, and he would never tell us anything wrong. Like, he obviously knows how to play the game.
Who cares if he's a top player? It's a new activity. You can't take everything people say as truth. We don't even know. They're still figuring it out, too. Come on now. I want to get this done before wife gets home. She's going to beat my ass for playing video games too goddamn long. You hear?
Well, if you think you know better, why don't you do it instead? Okay, smart guy.
Guys, I don't know what's going on. Why is it not working? Hello? Can someone tell me why this is? What's going on with my PlayStation? Guys, I don't feel good. What the hell's going on? Guys.
Wait, where did he go? What happened?
Wait, hold on. I'm gonna message it. I'm gonna stop. Don't do the encounter. I'm gonna. Oh, the PlayStation Network just crashed. Holy, that's crazy. I wonder if they're gonna do another run for people.
I guess it's his your luck. Sucky me you. I hope Buggy doesn't do anything, because, like, seriously, it'd be stupid if they give us another day.
Oh, Bungie just tweeted they're gonna look into making another run for people. That's awesome.
What? What are you talking about? Well, you can't give us another day. That you would destroy the prestige of the emblem. Like, it should be day one only.
You know, you're the worst part of the community, the gatekeepers, for no freaking reason. Oh my God, my emblem. I can't let other people have it. Oh no, what will we ever do? Like, it's just a video game, bro. Like, trust me, no one cares.
It's part of the challenge of prestige. My personality depends on this. I gotta show my friends because I got the top of the leaderboard and D1, and I gotta show them my cool little emblem. But then Buggy's gonna go give it to everyone? Like, come on, Buggy. You know what? It's not your fault. It's PlayStation's fault. And that's why we need to keep it PCish. They should just buy a PC. Like, if you're tired of a game crashing, just get a PC. It's not that hard.
Okay, whatever, buddy. I'm done. I'm going to go. I think I'm going to take a break. You enjoy your day one contest. I'm sure people are going to look at that on your resume. Have fun. Bye-bye. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the counselor's office. Mr. Gaming Counselor, scholars, welcome your beautiful faces to probably the one and only unscripted, brutally honest review. Now, I do want to point out that a lot of people have talked about how the quality of the mic wasn't sounding good. I had my little portable mic and it just didn't sound good. So you let me know in comments down below if this is a kind of a better middle point where I still have a cord, but I'm able to do the green screen effect for your beautiful faces. Let me know the quality down below. But let's jump into it. That's right. Sundered Doctrine. One of the newest, no, it is the newest dungeon to us. By the way, I want to clarify, this is going to be unscripted, so it's going to be a little messy. So bear with me. Yes, Sundered Doctrine, the newest dungeon to reach our beautiful fingers, where we can touch it and caress it and enjoy it. That sounds really weird. But here we are in Destiny 2 with Sundered Doctrine. This is a dungeon based on Vow of the Disciple. If you don't know what I'm talking about, and if you haven't played it, which most of you probably have, and you're just interested to see what I have to say about it, I'm going to tell you right off the rip. I'm going to be very brutally honest. I don't like this theme. I don't like it. I don't like the dread anymore. It was cute in the final shape, and now I've just gotten tired of it. Now, I'm gonna tell you right now, just because that's my bias, I'm not gonna let that impact me being honest about the actual dungeon itself. Because there's a lot of good that I have to say, which is probably going to surprise a lot of you. But I do have some fair criticism as well. But one of them is a personal choice that I don't enjoy the dungeon because I don't enjoy the theme. There's aspects about the theme that I enjoy. I just don't care. Now, I know that a lot of people do have a issue with how Bungie has done the past 2 dungeons, this one and Vesper's Host, where Bungie has now chosen to use dungeons as like a continuation of a story or a theme. Vesper's Host was based on all the space stations around Earth, and that plot point, it gives you the deep stone crypt vibe based on that raid. And then this one, like I said, it's Vowed Disciple. So you're going to get inside, we're inside the pyramid. We're actually getting verbatim continuation story, some lore bits. Is it important to do the dungeon to get like must-have information? Absolutely not. It's just neat. And that's what I think. I think it's neat. I don't mind. I know people want something new, but considering Bungie has created these raids with beautiful landscape, beautiful skyboxes that you barely even get to touch, and you think to yourself, and I remember thinking very specifically about Vowed Disciple, man, I would like to explore the city. And you get to do that here. Even though I personally don't like the theme, I do like that we are actually moving through this this dungeon. It's part of the actual raid. Now, I also want to point out that I am going to mention contest mode, but generally I've already given my thoughts on the contest mode, so just check that video out itself. But I will say that contest mode, there's certain encounters that I will talk about that I think is better on contest mode than the actual dungeon itself, starting, you know, with the first encounter, but we'll get there in a minute. Again, Dread, not my favorite thing. I will also talk about, before we dive into the encounters themselves, that I'm not a fan of the weapons. I know people are hyped up on the subjugation perk, and yes, it's really cool, or the trait, should I say, the origin trait, but most of these weapons are pretty mid. Like, they have utility, they have use, you can use them. The slug shotgun, if you're a shotgun main, you're gonna love it. I did a whole review, and it still stands. You're still gonna see some people use them, obviously, but they're not must-haves. Again, not must-haves, but am I going to sit there and make fun of you for using it? Absolutely not. They have some really cool combinations, and like I said, the subjugation origin trait really carries these weapons. You remove that, and you realize that they really are just mid weapons. Use them, don't use them. It doesn't matter. You technically paid for it, but here it is. Now, I do want to take the time to point out that I am not attaching this to heresy, because it's not attached. Don't let people who are content creators and streamers try to gaslight you to think that this is part of the heresy seasonal content. It's not. You paid for it separately. If you buy the deluxe, then you don't care anyways. But if you're looking to see whether this dungeon is worth your time and money, just realize that you don't have to buy heresy, and then if you buy heresy, you don't also get access to this dungeon. It is a completely separate paid product, and that's why we're going to review it specifically under that criteria, that it is its own existence. The seasonal content leaves, but the dungeon content stays, and by that basis, I'm going to give you a review whether you should buy the dungeon. Let's talk about... We talked about the loot. Let's talk about the armor. I got to talk about it. I didn't talk about it in the weapon review, but I'll talk about the armor here. I am going to say that it is very selective whether you like it or not. I think the shadow darkness armor from like Salvation's Edge, Vow of the Disciple, like this continuing theme, I don't like it. It looks pretty crappy. The puzzle-like vibe, just really freaking weird. Like, I would like a true Resident shadow armor, like really badass looking armor. It's not for me. It's not for me. I've seen people, you take pieces and make it work for other builds. It's just not for me. I'm just going to say that right now. I think I'm just tired of the armor set. This is like the third time we've got some variant of this armor set that is this shadow. It's not even shadow. It's just like the weird dread vibe. And I just don't care. It's just meh. I'd rather have Rolk armor with residents and all that stuff. Like, yeah. That's all I gotta say. I am tired of shower curtains for hunters. I'm tired of like class items being curtains. So the fact that we're moving away from that is a great step. That's just how I feel. I don't know what it is with anything related to the darkness is attached to shower curtains, but here we go. Now we got the small stuff out of the way. Let's talk about the dungeon itself. Let's talk about encounter run. I want to say on contest mode, I knew exactly how to do this encounter. Like I didn't know verbatim, but I knew exactly what had to do because in the first encounter, the objective is one, it's a riddle. You got a wheel with different symbols, which by the way, I have to give shout out to Bungie. This is probably one of the most innovative things that they've done in in-game content, like a dungeon or a raid. As soon as you drop down and you go backwards, they have a wall with all the symbols and you go up to it. It gives you like a tooltip of the name of each symbol. So you and your team can actually know the name of the symbols that you're calling out and you can be on the same page. Like for veterans, you already know, especially if you played Valve Disciple, but for the fact that if you're a new player or you don't understand the lore or any of that, you don't have to. The Bungie actually has a whole gallery to showcase each symbol and the names, and you immediately know what to call out. Mwah. Bungie. More of that. Beautiful. I love that. Credit to where credit's due. That is the kind of innovation we need to explain. It's not giving the whole encounter away, especially if it's contest mode, which I would say most people who are running contest mode have some experience with the game overall. But I'm just saying for the fact that it's a baby step for new players who are doing the base raid, they can learn the mechanics just by looking at the wall, or at least some of the mechanics, knowing the names. So the first encounter, I want to say that I enjoy the first encounter, and I figured it out as soon as we got there because the first encounter requires you to use the darkness beams. That's right, it's resonance to connect the beams from point to point to point to solve the riddle. You're solving the riddle on the wall. You're going to get a bunch of symbols, the truths and the lie, and you're going to solve it by connecting the right areas. Now, if you know, and this is something I have to give Bungie credit for, they actually incorporated the lore into this dungeon. Like if you understand the two truths and a lie, if you know that, you don't even have to really do the actual mechanic itself, which is chase what's called truth seekers. Killing truth seekers will tell you the symbol you have to go to and then activate the platforms or the beams, the reflector beams, in order to solve the puzzle. Like you can bypass chasing the dude if you just know how to solve the puzzle itself, which is really, really cool. Like I appreciate Bungie for innovating and putting lore, like lore bits, but if you don't know the lore, you're not going to be punished because again, you chase the flying dread, you get the symbol, you chase the symbol, and you go around and collect all the different lenses, which you will then go and connect all the lenses together to the correct solution to the riddle. And once you've done this 3 times, boom. And when I say 3 times, I mean 3 rotations. You have to do 3, 3, and 3. And once you do that, you've completed the encounter. Pretty simple, pretty easy. And for that reason, on normal non-contest mode, it's really kind of boring. I know that's kind of going to make some people upset, but generally I think the first encounter was funner on contest mode because it had the time restriction and forced you to really synergize as a team. It was fast. It was very intense. But on the normal mode, even master mode, you're just kind of chilling. You can take your time, and if you mess up, there's really nothing punishing you as long as you don't die or wipe. There's no punishment. Sure, the subjugators are challenging, but you can clear an entire room. You can take your time. If you mess up, it's really hard to fail this encounter. The way you fail this encounter is by doing the puzzle wrong, and then it spawns a tormentor, which again isn't like it's not the hardest thing. You just nuke the tormentor and you're back to square one. That's it. It's really there's nothing. There's no wipe mechanic. There's nothing. It's just real no penalty. It's kind of boring. I kind of wish there was a way to toggle on the timer to add a challenge, even to master mode. It would have been really cool. Overall, I do like the mechanic of connecting the lenses and the beams, it's really cool. I enjoy that. The reason why I knew that was what it was going to be is because I played Resident Evil 5. I know, I'm dating myself. Resident Evil 5. You go into like this Aztec style, like underground society in Africa. You know, all these natives running around and you're trying to not die by them. You get to a part where you're going through this underground Indiana Jones style where you have traps and you have to use the sunbeam to connect the different lenses to unlock the next path. So it's like a mini puzzle. And so that's where I can't, like, I know what to do. It is funny how my brain instantly connected, didn't even got there, and I immediately knew what to do. We got to connect them to the right thing. I didn't know like the whole true truths and the lie thing. I didn't know that much, but I knew you had to connect them to the very specific thing. And you'd be like, well, duh, anyway, you could figure that out. Oh no, I think you're not giving enough credit to the Destiny community to figure out stuff like that. But it was pretty easy to figure out and to connect the dots once you killed the True Seeker. Like you kill him first time, you see the symbol, and you're like, oh, I saw those on the wall. We have to go find the room that has them. And then after that, it was kind of figuring it out, like the multiple rotations and doing it within a certain time. Contest mode was really fun. Now we kind of go into second encounter. I want to talk about the transitions, like in between. Overall, I'm going to talk about the transitioning and the traveling part. There's a lot of different parts that are like, it's cool. You're going through the temple. It's like you're exploring like Indiana Jones. The one part that I did enjoy that really was like Indiana Jones was the ball traps. Just you have giant, massive boulders coming down. You're trying to make your way through. Then you get to another hallway where you have a bunch of boulders going left and right. Like, it's really cool, and I enjoy that. But that's probably one of the two parts that I enjoy with the movement. And then, of course, before you get to the second encounter, you have like a little tutorial, which I thought was pretty cool. It was pretty cool, like a tutorial to explain the mechanic before you got to the actual encounter, though it didn't really necessarily explain it. You had to it was trial and testing, right? But you got in, you killed the two wizards, you picked up the resonance, and you looked at the wall where the door is that you're trying to unlock, and you see the two symbols, and you kind of like had to mess around with the Wheel of Fortune, right? The Wheel of Fortune. And you had to spin it to win it, but sometimes you had to okay, how do I change this? Well, you shoot you shoot it, and then you activate, you shoot the thing to swap the rotation. And then you insert it, and once you dunk the resonance, it will move it to the correct symbol. And depending on how many spaces to the correct symbols, how many resonances you need, which you get from the wizards. There's also an ogre that spawns. You just kind of kill it to make sure you don't die, because he'll just kind of screws you over, unfortunately. Really cool little mini tutorial before the actual encounter. Then you get to the encounter that kind of killed it for a lot of people. And I'm going to have like a hot opinion. And I know a lot of in-game players have talked about this encounter. And yes, it is really stupid. That's the second encounter. The Shrieker boss was bugged and is still bugged. I think it is ridiculous that we have paid content that it is coming out bugged. Is this the worst that we've had bugged content wise? No, it's not. We can be honest here. The fact that you could still do the encounter, okay. But for contest mode, it was absolutely a bitch. And I feel like there was more issues with this encounter than DPS. I feel like DPS in itself is the least of concern here. What do I mean? Okay, so just kind of like a summary of this encounter. So you hop in, you kill all the trash ads. The bosses pop out. Really badass. They're giant temple shriekers. That's what they are. They're just giant shriekers. But there's multiple of them. So that's kind of new, having more than just one boss. I mean, not new. We've had the Shield Brothers in Destiny 1. We've had multiple bosses. But this entire counter was on the wall, multiple shriekers to shoot, multiple locations you can be at. Usually, people try to choose like one specific DPS location, whereas this, you can kind of choose multiple places on the map and still do pretty decent DPS, which is really cool. So the pop out, all the trash ads spawn, you kill all the trash ads out, and you'll notice that there are 4 different wheels, the Wheel of Fortune. And with these wheels, you essentially do what you did in the tutorial. You need to line them up to the symbol that you want. And once the boss does his rotation, and you can see it gives you the little charge meter, and it will tell you once it's maxed, it'll go through the process of checking the wheels, and it will do the first wheel, and it'll do its scope, then it'll do a second wheel, then it does its scope, it'll do its third, and then it'll do a fourth. That's how it'll go. And it does automatically. No matter what you do, the boss in a certain amount of time will go through, charge up, and it will do and check the locks. That's what they're called. They're locks. So you're checking the locks, and there's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can do to stop it. It happens. It's just in the background happening. What your job is to put in the symbol you want the boss to scan and check and lock in on the back of the wall. Once you choose all 4 symbols and it goes through the process, the magic happens, right? The magic happens. So I'm trying to wait. The goal is to get extended boss DPS and then activate the kill symbol, which lets you do the DPS. The last one should be DPS. And that's the goal. You just activate the symbol, extend the DPS, activate the final symbol, and then do DPS and then kill the boss. That's it. That's the general. I summarized it. Now, there are key parts that you need to do. 1, you have to kill wizards. That's how you get the resonance. That's how you go through each Wheel of Fortune and you choose the symbol you want, and you have to collect so many resonance from wizards to get the number that you need to spin the wheel. Why am I specifically holding back on telling you what the symbol is? It's because it's kind of funny that the community kind of got gaslit by like top YouTuber content streamers who are telling everyone to do commune, and all commune does is spawn more high. It doesn't even extend DPS. It just causes more trash ads. So people are wondering, why are there so many ogres in trash ads? Why am I dying? Why? Oh no, I think actually commune is not even that. I think commune makes the bees spawn. That's what it is. The bees spawn from commune, and then the ads still spawn, and so you're just doing all this stuff. You're like, what is going on? Come to find out, the proper symbol is stop, kill. Stop spawns most of that trash ad spawning except for the preset spawns. There will always be rotations like the wizards and then some ogres and then other trash ads that will spawn naturally, but most part you can shut down the extra spawns, giving you more freedom of not having to die, but also focus on spinning the wheel. Another factor that people weren't realizing day 1 and day 2 was that when you inserted a symbol and scan it, it can change. Not only can it change, but if you look at ahead of time, you're like, oh, we're on stop on the second one, I'm gonna leave it alone. After it does its first rotation, the boss does, and scans and locks in the first symbol, the other symbols can rotate. They will change. So you're constantly having to babysit those symbols and keep track of whether they're changing or not and how many resonance you need to switch them up. So that's the challenge, right? That's the challenge part. The really cool encounter, I just feel like it was wasted resources. Why? Well, outside of like the shrieker being bugged, why do I think this encounter was a waste of resources? 1, to assume, first off, Buggy took the time to make all these different symbols and they do different things. Why? To think that anyone would do anything else besides stop, kill is insane. Sure, for contest mode, it's interesting, but are you going to tell me Buggy wasted time, money, and resources on this one encounter that 90% of the community won't do anything else differently? Seriously, let's have a conversation, a criticism. We're talking about Buggy wasting time and effort into things for no reason. Let's talk about this encounter. People know it's solved. People know the symbols. Sure, outside of maybe low mans or people who are desperate for ammo generation, that might spawn in some ogres, but majority of the community is just going to do stop, 3 stops and a kill, and then do DPS and then repeat it again. Like that's going to be the verbatim what people do. What is the point of creating all the other symbols like spawning bees, spawning ogres outside of just making ammo, spawning more hive? Like, what is the point? Like, there's no shot that Bungie didn't think, oh, the community is going to take the easy route and make sure that the encounter is easy as possible. They didn't stop to think that, right? Surely they did. Surely they realized when they made this encounter that they took so much time and effort to create and customize each symbol to do a thing that no one would ever use it. Like, that's the part that I don't understand on some of these encounters. It is fundamentally the easiest encounter in a dungeon that I have ever seen. Because once you shut out all the ads, one person can do the entire encounter mechanic. One person, while everyone just chills. There was times where I was bored because I wanted to be the guy to spin the wheel and babysit the wheel. But only one person was needed. I just sat there. I literally walked off to get a drink is how boring that encounter is. And then you do boss DPS. And right now you can two-phase the boss. God forbid they fix the crit, which I think they should. It's going to be like 2 maybe even 1 phase, depending how the community gets creative with DPS. It is insane to me that Bungie could have made more impactful mechanics with the symbols. That maybe they made it to where 2 out of the 4 are locked in automatically, so you don't have a choice to do kill, or sorry, stop, kill. You know what I mean? The three stops and a kill. Maybe 2 of those are preset randomly. Oh, you're getting ogres. Oh, you're getting hive. Then you can do stop, and then kill. Right? That's my general thought. Is like Bungie didn't do anything to enforce people to use the other symbols. They're just non-existent. Sure, if you want to make a challenge for yourself, you could do that. But like, who's going to do that? Who's willingly going to put in the symbol to make it harder for themselves? You're better off just using blue or white gear if you want a challenge. I'm just saying. It is such a weird decision, like encounter decision to create mechanics that no one will ever use. It's like the Riven cheese, except Riven cheese was not intended. It was the community circumventing the actual encounter. But Bungie decided to make the Riven cheese a real thing, and by choice in this encounter. Oh, you could do the hard mode, or you can just take a really easy route by plugging in the symbols, so you can circumvent every challenge that there possibly could be. It is. I don't get it. I don't get the choice, the decision to make this encounter a nothing burger. All right, second encounter. We'll move on. Now we get to our last transition. And again, we're messing with lenses. We're getting some lore bits. Like, we're seeing a bunch of dead worms everywhere, which is pretty cool. Like, a scenery, pretty crazy. Again, not necessarily my favorite theme, but I do like the whole the worm gods, which apparently they come in all kinds of sizes, because there are small ones, big ones, and apparently they're just all a bunch of bitches, which is weird because I remember at early Destiny, like, we were like, oh my god, Zal and all these other guys, badass, powerful worm gods, and even the siblings, the hive siblings, are just like bending and bowing to them, and you find out they're just a bunch of baby back bitches that Bronk decided to use as bait or something. I don't know. It's so weird how we shifted to the story on these worm gods. The more and more that comes out about them, they just seem like pointless little things. I guess they are worms at the end of the day, right? So you go through all these. Again, you're having lenses. It's all right until you meet a new mechanic. That's right. We've had some hard bosses before the final boss, and even in the final boss, the final encounter. Bungie introduced an encounter, or a mechanic, that is probably one of the hardest things I have ever done in a dungeon. I kid you not. I don't know what made Bungie do this. I don't know who thought it was funny or who thought it'd be a good idea. I mean, I think people have died less to raid bosses than this mechanic. But why the fuck is the fucking door a thing? No, seriously. Why is it the fucking door harder than the final boss? I think the fucking door. Yes, you have to shoot a fucking door, like a wall that opens up the doorway, and you have to rail. You have to mass DPS. You have to blow your load on a fucking wall to open up the door. And the door will crush you. It will kill you. It'll find you. It'll find your brother. It'll find your sister. And it will fuck you. It will fuck you all together. It does not care. It doesn't even care if you're Superman. It will fuck you in your Krypton ass. And I'm not joking. This boss is, the door is more of a challenge and harder than the boss. Like, the boss is a squishy little guy, but the door is more of a challenge. The fucking door. I hope Bungie never does that shit again. It is so fucking annoying. And it's funny watching people do solo flawless runs, and they have to dedicate an entire weapon that specifically lets them do the door correctly, which is so fucking stupid. You should just shoot the door a couple times, it does its thing, and it automatically closes after a certain amount of time. But no, you have to stop what you're doing in the middle of this boss fight to shoot a door. You're like, oh, is it opening? What time is it? What's going on? Hey, we're almost there. Okay, I can go in and smash. You're dead. I don't understand Bungie's design choices. I just hope we never see it again. Now we're talking about the last encounter. The last encounter, as you probably heard, was easy. In fact, contest mode, it was a joke. Granted, Divinity was stacking with particle deconstruction. It doesn't matter. It's still a joke. People are still going to rail the two-phase this boss, and they probably would have still two-phased this boss anyways. This boss was such a, especially if you know where to position yourself, this boss is such a joke. I know that Bungie's probably disappointed that the thing that held people back was the fact that the people didn't know how to plug in symbols correctly for the Shrieker encounter. That's what held most of the community back, was figuring out the patterns. But once people got over that, it was like people start flooding through the door. It was so easy. It was so easy. But yeah, so they introduce the two truths and a lie again, right? The whole shebang bang. Pretty cool. I don't know the two truths and lie, and I'm gonna be honest. Even now, I still have not learned the encounter. I absolutely was the guy that just killed everything and made a bunch of blocks. I was the Xenotaph bitch, so I did not participate in actually solving the puzzle. I don't still know how to do it. I know it's supposedly easy and there's a map to do it, but I'm going to tell you right now, again, it's one of those situations where one person can do the mechanic while one person makes MO and the other person just doesn't die. At least in contest mode. I just, it's cool. Like, you go, there's multiple rooms, multiple symbols. There's subjugators again, just like the first encounter. There's the lenses, which you can connect or disconnect accordingly. They even introduced Strand, which I will tell you right now, I have nightmares, not because of PvP, nightmares of threadlings in contest mode Sundered Doctrine. Just shooting those little bastards, because they will kill you. They will find you. They will hunt you down to every end of the world, and they will crawl up your nutsack, and they will fiddle and diddle your nutsack. That's what's going to happen. Which is funny, because threadlings are more of a threat coming from enemies than they are from players. And yes, threadlings suck for in-game. They're absolute a joke, but apparently they're great for killing you. The encounter itself is fine. You can go fast, you can go slow, there's no rush, take your time. Even if you fail, it's no big deal. The biggest thing is you're wasting your time. That's it. I mean, the boss is already a 2-phase. The worst case, it's a 3-phase. Like, I've done LFG runs and they've just been unoptimized, getting caught by the boss, thrown across the map, and you could still easily 3-phase it. It can be a long process, making it really boring. And that's the problem I have of it. It's a really boring encounter. It's probably the most boring boss fight live we've had yet. Because again, one person can do the encounter. Sure, you could split the work and do it, but even then, it just feels really, really boring. It's just, I'm not as excited about it, especially after the other two encounters that were a little bit more engaging, except for the second encounter. If you were the person doing it, it was engaging. It feels bad, and I understand Bungie creates these dungeons now even more so than previously with the hope that people can solo flawless it, right? And that's why it feels like every encounter could be done by one person. because it can, and it's supposed to. I just wish there was a way to make it a little bit more challenging when you have a group of people, so it feels like you actually have a reason to participate versus just not. Again, boss, I found the final boss. It's really cool. I'm glad we have a giant dread boss as a actual encounter, and he actually does suspend and yanks. I wish we would have seen some more like PvP style guardian encounter fight. I wish he was actually a threat. Don't get me wrong, he is threatening, but the hardest thing is just all the ads and the threadlings. I think the threadlings in the fucking door are the most threatening thing in the entire counter. Dying by the door and threadlings. That's what you're looking at when it comes to danger. The boss himself, pretty easy to ignore as long as you're not being stupid. Then we come to... I saved it for last. I saved it... We're gonna come. I didn't mention in my review. Didn't talk about the dungeon weapon. Let's break that down. The dungeon exotic. That's right. Augur's Finality. Really cool. I think it's really cool. Yes, it's not meta, but it's really fun to play with. Having a turret, like a mortar strike turret, like if you're playing Call of Duty, incoming tactical nuke, and it's really cool. My only gripe is I wish it attacked faster and more often. Don't increase the damage, just literally make it to where it attacks faster within the time limit that's up. That's my only complaint about the gun. I don't think that every gun that Bungie ships has to be meta. I think that it is unique enough and is cool enough that you can slot it in and use it for like raids and dungeons that maybe don't require DPS. And you could use it absolutely. Like I used it farming vault glass and encounters where you don't need DPS, but you just need some ad clear. It's really fun. I think you're gonna have a great time with it. If you could get it. That's right. For the first 2 weeks, it was bugged that the gun wasn't dropping in the game. Again, people wonder, the game's not bugged, it's not broken, what are you talking about? Yes, the pinnacle exotic for the content you paid for, unless you did contest mode, you weren't getting it. All the people who desperately farmed out all the triumphs to increase their drop rate of the exotic was for nothing. Because it wasn't dropping. It didn't exist. It took the players pointing it out like, hey, no one's gotten this since contest mode. Something's up. And then Bungie's like, oh, whoops. We didn't make it drop more. My bad. Now, granted, they did fix it by increasing the drop rate and giving people a redo for a week if you already done it, which kind of sucks for the people who didn't do it for the week, who, would have benefited. Instead of doing six runs, you only get 3 or 4 depending on how many runs you did prior. I think they should have just flat gave everyone 2 resets per character and just called it a day. But yeah, it wasn't dropping. How do you fuck that up? How do you fuck loot not dropping? Oh wait, they've been doing it for the past year. Loot not dropping correctly. Who would have thought? In fact, that's why Zero Hour was disabled, because it wasn't dropping the freaking exotic pulse rifle. It's so freaking stupid, man. But what's worse, if you want the catalyst for it, it's currently bugged in 2 different ways. That's right. The quest that you have to do is bugged, but it's bugged in 2 different ways. Different steps are bugged and locking people out, especially the people who had to wait 2 to 3 weeks to do it. Why? That is one of the biggest complaints. Why is Bungie so hell-bent on time gating? You're time gating a quest, a dungeon quest for a catalyst, and they time gated it for 3 weeks. Why? What the fuck is wrong with you? People paid for the content. Let them have the content. Why are we time gating the most minimal bullshit now? Do you not have faith in your own game that people will stick around and play and farm said content? Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, it's not a bad dungeon. It's a really cool dungeon, even though I don't like the theme. So the encounters are cool. There's aspects that are cool. It's not my most enjoyable. I still think Warlord's Ruin is #1 for me, and then Vesper's Host. is a solid 2. I don't know where I would put this one at, but it's not maybe top 5. I don't know. I don't get it. I just don't get it how we have your time gaining people to do quests. But then when people try to do the weekly quests, now the quest is broken. So people can't even do the quest to get the catalyst. And it also gives you the ability to focus specific loot, which is really cool, but you can't do that because it's broken. It's just, at this point, I feel like Bungie needs to just remove these stupid quests and just make it part of the actual the encounter itself. Like the actual, it's just baked into it, and you have to explore and solve it on its own. Don't attach it to an actual quest, that stupid quest line. Just make it all of it is just ready to go. You just explore, you figure out, you do A, B, C, or within the pattern that you want it to be done, you unlock the ability, boom, we're done. But no, Bungie wants to do quests because they want a time gate, because they want to make it where you come back and do the stupid quest and do the dungeon 5 or 6 fucking times a week. It's just, people were going to be doing that anyways for the loot that they want and to the chance at the exotic itself. I know, a little ranty at the end, but it's just, we have a shrieker that's bugged. You have a quest line that's bugged twice. You have it to where Bungie isn't even dropping the pinnacle exotic for the whole fucking dungeon, and it's fixed now. The other 3 things aren't. It doesn't make sense. And overall, like I said, I don't like the theme. I like some of the encounter mechanics. I think the final boss is a joke. I think overall, Bungie's relying too heavily on the must solo. I feel like what they need to do, and here's my honest opinion, is they need to take the approach where, like they do with story campaigns, where if you go solo, it matches you. And it gauges the boss health and everything and the challenge level. And if you're with a team, it should match the team level versus it feeling like it's not mandatory to participate, because half the time it feels like you just, whether you want to or not, you don't participate. And that's what makes it more of a boring dungeon, in my opinion. Whereas other encounters in raids dungeons actually feel I have to be involved and participate in said content. That's just my thought. Overall, like I said, it's not at all the worst dungeon. I probably would enjoy it much more if I liked the theme, but I don't. I do think the encounters themselves have some gold, but I think second encounter really kills it for me, because it's like, why waste your time with mechanics that no one will ever engage in because they're just going to take the easiest route to guarantee the clear. That is my Sundered Doctrine review. I don't know if there's anything else that's worth mentioning that I have forgotten. I think I've talked about the errors and the problems, contest mode. I can mention PlayStation crashing. Good on Bungie. That's not their fault, and I don't classify that as a part of the review. That's why I didn't really mention it too much. But good on Bungie for giving people an option to do contest mode again. Outside of that, like, listen, I'm okay with them doing dungeons like this if it's based off raids. I think it's a cool concept. I think using lore as mechanic stuff is cool. That's innovative. We've complained about them not innovating. I don't care if they're reusing certain assets from raids, because they're using it in a different way than what we've used in the past. Like, I'm okay with that. And I know a lot of people want me to rail Bungie for reusing these things and changing them. I'm okay with that if the theme is something I care about, which I don't care too much about the dread theme and the pyramid theme that much anymore. But I'm not docking it. I'm not saying it's a bad dungeon. It's a good dungeon. Like, objectively, it's a good dungeon. It has problems. Like I said, second encounter, it just kind of feels like a waste of resources. It just feels really stupid. And I think, again, that it's geared that way because it's meant to be soloable, and that's why. Though even with a group of people, you wouldn't choose anything besides the easiest route. Anyways, I'm rambling at this point. Let me know in the comments down below what you think. You know what, for funsies, what's your top 5 dungeons? How would you place this dungeon in comparison to other dungeons? And let me know what you think. As always, don't forget to tell me how you like the quality of the mic and the sound. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and until next time, I'll see you in the next Brutally Honest review. Don't forget to game out. Huzzah!